Cloud Bethune statue, Rededication. Can you tell us your name?
My name's Eric Jackson.
Marvelous. And do we have permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you very much. So do you want to start with just telling us why you're out here today?
Well, I seen the information online in relation to the 50th anniversary, and while reading it, I came to a part that stated, where were you during that time? If you participated or if you remember anything, contact so and so by email. And I did so, and I was at that time I was a 14-year-old entertainer. I was a performer. I performed that day on that stage at 14 years old in front of 18,000 people. Well, the New York Times said it was 20, but the Washington Post said 18. But it was an amazing experience. It was something I'll never forget. Music was my original major. And to have an opportunity to perform at a benefit such as that, and it was just awesome. It was unforgettable.
Amazing. And how did you even end up getting there? 14 years old performing in front of that many?
Well, our manager, we had a little singer group, and our manager, it was in relations to Park Service. I think his name was Mr. Gray. He was working with Park Service, but our singing group manager name was Miss Pettigrew. And she had came to the group, and I was the lead singer. I was one of the lead singers. And she asked if I would like to perform at the event. And I thought I was going to do it with the group, and she said, no, I need you. I have another female group that I want to back you up. And I was like, well, it's all right with me. I never realized the resentment that it would bring among the other group members. But it was very, very, very unforgettable. Very special moment.
So just go ahead and tell us about that day. How'd you get there? What happened? What all stood out to you from the day?
Well, of course I was nervous. Wow. The spirit just took over. I don't know if it was Mary McLeod Bethune's spirit or either Dorothy Heights or the great civil rights leaders whose shoulders we stand on. But the spirit took over that day, and I just took off, and I performed to a standing ovation that was based at 14 years old. The ovation had to last 20 minutes. And after the show, I was called to a table, and Miss Pettigrew introduced me to Mr. Gray, I believe his name was, and I signed a contract to perform on the Summer in the Park Showmobile at 14 years old. It was an amazing experience, one I'll never forget.
Do you remember anything else from the unveiling? Any other speakers, performers? Do you remember who was there?
Oh, that's what she's asking me. Well, anybody can tell you from the clips in the newspaper articles about Dorothy Heights.
Yeah, who stood out to you? Which ones do you remember?
Well, at 14 years old, if you wasn't an athlete, you didn't stand. You didn't stand out to me. With humility, I'm embarrassed to say that later on in life, it dawned on me how special that moment was and how blessed I was to be in their presence. But at that time, if I be honest with myself, at 14 years old, the only thing was on my mind was singing and playing sports.
So all of us were 14 and we were all like that at 14.
And today I apologize for that.
Well, looking back on it then, what kind of stands out to you now with that perspective?
Oh, wow. It was a very special moment. right? Not only the dedication within itself, because I was raised around here. I was raised down the street. We used to run and play in this park. And to see Lincoln's statue and to hear, the negatives slash positives slash negatives in relations to it. And to come to a place where one day I'm open enough to see it and see statues of African Americans kneeling, right? As if they're bowing to him. And to be told that out of appreciation we were being freed was something very degrading, I believe, today. And I also believe that it should be removed, right? When you talk about very degrading statues, outside of confetti statues, I believe that statue within itself is very degrading to our people. And to have a conversation earlier with this queen and to realize how Miss Bethune impacts her life with a vision at 4 years old to open up an all-girls school, which she did, right? To go on and recognize Dorothy Heights, right? She was there, right? And the impact she put on not only to our people, but to society as a whole. Stuff like that is unforgettable. Stuff like that is very unforgettable. Yeah.
So the statue was Mary McLeod Bethune. Is there anything in her incredible life and career that especially stands out or is meaningful to you?
Well, first of all, the university, Mary McLeod Bethune University. When we talk about HBCUs, I think that's one of the finest of its kind. And for her, again, to have that impact on generations after her passing shows the work she put in. A lot of times, we plant the seed, but we don't get to see the grass grow. Spiritually, we see it because we're there, we angels, we visualize it. But humanly, all the work that these great leaders done, 95% didn't get to see the grass grow. And that's a painful thing. And politically, that should be a more reason to push for more reparation and benefits toward the African American people. So looking at President Johnson signing the Bill of Rights in '64 and the humiliation of the assassination and the embarrassment of Dr. King in '68, right? So to push past all that and still be a visionary, right? And to surround yourself with a network of people that are just as powerful as you are, the Dorothy Heights and all those great women. It speaks volumes. And for me to have been a part of it, again, I want to reiterate, it's something I'll never forget. I'll never forget.
And why did you want to come out 50 years later to the Rededication? What about it drew you?
Well, to be honest with you, some of the dreams I gave up on. Like music was one. I'm a recovering alcoholic, right? Those women, Dorothy Heights, Mary McLeod Bethune, et cetera, those were pioneers who were strong enough to push past the inner pain and not substitute it with substance. I wasn't that strong. So I found escape in addiction, right? And as a result of that, all my dreams I gave up on. I honestly thought they were gone. But once I became sober, I read somewhere that once I put the bottle down and start living the principles of that program, that wonderful things can happen. that lost dreams can be reawakened and that new possibilities can be arise. And as a result of that, I have. I've been 30 years sober now. I've sung on Broadway, right? I've sung on National Theater, right? I've achieved my dream at the University of Notre Dame. Went back to school, got my degrees, and I served with the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. Today, I am a chef that's in demand, a certified chef. And I was taught, and I believe, that service is the rent we pay for life here on earth. And I owe a debt that I could never repay. And believe it or not, it was because those ladies planted a seed, which at one time I couldn't see grow. But they knew that it would if I had the ability to persevere.
And what was it like returning to music after so long? And
Oh,
how has it been since
it was
then?
awesome.
Yeah?
It was. I sung on Broadway at the last performance of Motown the musical,
Oh, yeah.
and I stood to a 15-minute standing ovation, and it was just awesome, right? And what I learned from that is that God will give me the desires of my heart. He just won't tell me when he would do that. But what I found out is, whichever time that will be, it has to be based in obedience. Spiritual obedience provide rewards that only he can provide. And that's a beautiful thing.
And becoming a chef, was that kind of the next natural thing you wanted to learn to do, or was that already also kind of a part of your life?
Well, because my life was full of addiction, substance abuse, my original plan was to go in counseling and be a social worker. But the friends that I surround myself with, computer specialists, IT specialists, and different professional positions, I would invite over my house every Sunday just to have dinner, and we would have conversation. So one day they called a meeting and took me to dinner, at which time they stated that they have come to the agreement that as my friend, I should change my major, of which at that time was social worker. They said, Eric, we feel as though you should change your major to culinary arts, because I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you can cook. And I trust my friends, and I changed my major, and the rest is history. You know, one of the things that I've read was the love that we experience will rejuvenate our will to live. And each positive move on my part will be matched by an unexpected opportunity. And as a result of me trusting my friends, I didn't know the results would be one day cooking for the President of the United States of America, the only African-American president of the United States of America. A moment where my mother and I had conversations that we would never get to see one. And for her to be alive long enough to not only see him elected, but to see her son serve with him was another very special moment in my life. You know.
So tell us about that. How did you get invited? What was that whole process?
Well, I'm an executive chef. I run a military base. Addiction robbed me of the benefits of sitting down with my father and grandfather and hearing the war stories. My grandfather was in Normandy, in World War II. My father was in Korea. But because of my addiction, I was never able to have a seat beside them and hear those special stories, which I believe every little kid should be able to hear. But because of the shame and guilt, I wasn't able to put myself in position to have those conversations. But once again, because of God's grace and His mercy, He placed me in a place to work called the Armed Force Retirement Home for distinguished veterans. And I am the executive chef, and I have conversations with these special people. Some of them bring tears out of their eyes. It's the first opportunity they had since the war. And the other half will say, well, we thought nobody wanted to know, or nobody wanted to listen. So to be a vessel, to allow a grown man to be able to sleep comfortable just one more day is a priceless experience. To be in the kitchen cooking and the priest come down with family members and they call me out because the person transitioned and the family wanted to meet me because of all the good things that fathers and grandfathers then told them about me. And they wanting to thank me for making their fathers or parents stay there a little more comfortable than what it would have been. Being invited to 21 gun salutes at Arlington Cemetery, right? Because I have gained the ability to understand rather than to be understood. Right. So I guess it all goes. So you said American University? I guess it boils down to what a great president said there one day. Ask not what you can do for yourself, but what you can do for your country. Right. John F. Kennedy. Yeah. So yeah. And I'm a Kennedy historian.
Yeah.
I'm a Kennedy historian, so I was able to live those dreams. I was able to go to Dallas, Texas, go to the Grassy Knoll, go to the Book Depository. God's been so good to me.
Yeah.
I was able to go snorkeling in Jamaica and snorkeling in Hawaii. You know, God's been very good to me. I've traveled all over the country sharing my story. And I know that if I can just help one person, then my job is done. You know, so it was an honor to come here this day. My sister-in-law's funeral was today. My wife and I, we went to the funeral, and when we got home, we went to put the ashes in the water. And on the way home, I told her I needed to get here because 50 years ago, a little kid that was 14 had an opportunity to be a part of history that he never saw coming because he couldn't visualize the grass growing. But he was the seed. He was one of the seeds of the grass growing.
Amazing. So, what do you hope to see, I guess, in the future? Like,
Well,
the future grass growing. What do you hope to see?
Well, one of the things that I realized and what I've learned in life is that there are acronyms for words. And one of the acronyms for hope is hearing other people's experience. I believe life is based on experience. If you look at it religiously, from Genesis to Malachi, or Matthew to Revelations, in the end, it's still the beginning. Because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word was with God. So knowing now who the Word was, something I was told a long time ago. If you want to make God laugh, tell them what you're going to do today. My only thing I do when I wake up is ask him to take my will in my life, guide me, and show me how to live. All I ask is that he give me the ability to persevere whichever direction he send me in. And for that, I'm grateful. Because everybody don't have an opportunity to be used by God. But everyone is invited if they want to be part of the seed. We have to rid ourselves of something that folks don't like to talk about, and that's racism. Right? We, speaking of African Americans, we were never known as hatred people, right? We were never known to dislike anyone because of the color of their skin. We were never known to do that. And to be disliked or hated because of your skin, to be mistreated because of your skin, right? And to have this God that witnesses all this gives me another reason to realize why some people are atheists. Because some folks say if it was a God, why would he allow it? Right? Do I believe it is? Yeah, I know it is. I have evidence in my life that only he could have done in my life, what my life has become. So in becoming the best person Earth can be, I want to thank you all for putting on this event. And if it's his will, I may not be here 50 years from now, but if y'all do a 75-year reunion, hopefully I can catch that one. So look, she's standing up looking, so she's ready. She want me to get out of here. She doing like this, cut it, cut it, cut it.
Well, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
For allowing me to just immerse again in the watering of a seed that was planted 50 years ago. It was an honor then, and it was a bigger honor now because now I understand the impact of it. So I want to thank you.